Ring, 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 ring. Hi, and you have reached the Judgmental Hour with me, your host, the Reverend Gilbert V. Laboon. And who are you?
Oh, hello. My name is Maude Flanders.
Oh, hi, Maude Flanders. Where are you from?
Springfield.
Springfield, USA?
Maybe.
How can we serve your very godly soul on this very good hour?
I went to a Bible camp recently to learn how to be more judgmental, and I don't think it worked, so give me some help, please.
Well, I'd like to see just whether it worked or not, so I'm going to throw out a scenario and you judge it. A small boy is on a skateboard riding past the house of a former president where you were visiting and drinking lemonade. What do you do?
I stare at him and mentally think about him being a failure.
I'd like to say that's a really quite poor attempt at judging someone.
I can't really hear you. Your voice is too nasal.
Really? That's probably because you've got your ears all bunged up with all kinds of gunk.
But I don't think so. I think that it's just poor diction on your end.
I think your hands are so feeble you can't even really hold a telephone to your ear.
I disagree. I just think that this program has lost its charm since they replaced the old Reverend Boondock.
We like good audience members. We love having people listen who have above the cognitive level of an infant. Do you know any?
How dare you? I know at least 3.
Beep! Maude! It's the Maude Goodcast. It's a season 3 ice cream face stuff. Don't judge me or I will shoot you. Maudecast. Sister of flawed Amanda's evil twin Laurie Goodman, and twins Bonner and Garrett Goodman, and niece of Eliza Turnbull, the black sheep, knitting and scrapbooking for Jesus. Maybe she thinks Ned is cuddly. Auntie Marge, and the only recurring ghost on the primetime Simpsons TV show. She's the Maudlin Flanders cast. Nearly at the end of season 3.
This is our penultimate Maude episode, isn't it?
I believe it is.
Good.
Hello, Goodman Huntington and Magagi's Neighbor Clum. It's a divine value deal. Don't consume any number of innards, my peer. Brought to you by Ross Dibney's multiple conger eels and his dancing eel Mortimer. Shout outs. I'd like to give a shout out to the following band listeners: John Poop 17, Random Darkwave Hackers, and CG Chuff. I was tricked into a cage fight this week, the Captain Chuck vlogs. I was served with a cage fighting summons, and you know those are legal.
Yeah, you must.
I was tricked in, but managed to crawl out through the little cat flap before the match started. Sponsor, Life. The Inspiral Carpets debut LP featuring the hit single This Is How It Feels and She Comes in the Fall. Sponsor, Creed Breton, aka William Charles Schneider. Sponsor, Nestle, a healthy and brighter future. Those rumors about us smearing peanut butter all over their koalas' bellies and then licking it off in dark alleyways. Not true. Sponsor, Nog in the Nog, Nog in the Nog, 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 Nog.
Is that everybody?
No, that's enough for today, though. It's a
sizable amount.
It's a battle of the fittest in the realm of sponsors.
Yes, it's not about financial gain.
Some of these sponsors only give us 10 or 20 pence each.
Yes. Susan Boyle was particularly stingy.
Susan Boyle sent a mate round with a half-eaten pasty and tried to pay for a sponsorship deal with that, which is why she's no longer a sponsor of this show.
Precisely.
Here's this quote from Jack Derrida from one of his lolly sticks.
Surviving, that is the other name of a morning whose possibility is never to be awaited.
Mourning, again, you're allowed to explain whether you mean mourning as in daytime or as in grieving.
I can give you a hint. This morning has a letter U in it.
I see. Then Ned continued to live after Maude, but he mourned her.
Gotta say, Jack's not making a lot of sense on this. A morning whose possibility is never to be awaited. Mourning Maude forever, eternally.
Is it about, is he mourning the option, like the possibilities of things that now can't happen because she's dead? So they are possibilities that he will always be awaiting those possibilities. He can't do them because she's dead.
That's right, maybe, until she comes back. He's
Yes.
he flummoxed us with this one. Give me a number between 1 and 330 for the Mauditorium.
So I'll go for 132.
132. 60% Zen. Is Maude a passive character or is she Zen?
She's more passive than Zen. I think she's like internally frustrated quite a lot in the scenes that we see her in some kind of turmoil. Like we see her looking into the middle distance a lot, but she is thinking about something. You know, she's not achieved inner peace. Also, that Zen stuff's for Buddhists, and she isn't interested in that. Jesus had no interest in being Zen.
Jesus, he was about serenity and peace. She looks like she's a serene and peaceful person, but only on the surface. We all know there's a raging torrent underneath, don't we?
Yeah, it's just waiting to explode.
But how's Rod Hobgoblin's trench foot and Maude?
It's not too bad this week. It's lessened somewhat. His foot is back to Hobgoblin size, and his teeth have come back.
His teeth have regrown, and his foot is now orange and the size of a hobgoblin's foot.
Yeah.
Now, bad news, the last MFIMDB on the planet, the only one that seemed to have survived, has now burned down the Northern Mariana Islands. The MF27 has now burned down an unrelated crumpet incident.
That's unfortunate. Do we have any more evidence?
This one seems like it was just a delicious crumpet was left in the toaster just a bit too long. Some spark flew out. I'm sure it's unrelated. They did say that the steam and smoke was in the shape of a calculator.
The problem with that particular Maude museum is that it is 80% underwater, so any electrical stuff is going to be an issue. So
Yeah.
I think the toaster is above water for now, but you know it was an accident waiting to happen.
I agree. It was an accident just on the precipice of getting it on. Now, we this week have been up to our knees in Rossellini urine as we've been cleaning out the toilets at Rossellini Mansion now that she owns us. It looks like there's been someone very sloppy with their whiz and wee there, and there's not been a lot of MFIMDB business going on because we've been mopping up a lot of it, buckets worth.
Yeah, the only two things that have happened really is that she's heavily pushing for the Rossellini cast, despite there not being enough content for it. She keeps implying that we should just follow around for a week and do the cast about that. And yeah, she just keeps pissing all over the floors.
Well, I've not any evidence that it's her and that she's doing it on purpose, but I've got to say this person who shall remain nameless for now has really not got a good aim. Oh, hold on. This is her now.
Hello?
Oh, hello. Nail fun. Is that nail fun?
Yeah.
Tell him he's not cleaning your wee up quick enough. Well, I think there's some more wee on the floor in all my bathrooms.
Oh, okay.
You're not cleaning it up quick enough.
Did it like 20 minutes ago.
Tell him you're going for make him stand in there all day. I think, Nathan, it's best if you just stay in the bathroom. Just stay in there.
But there's 12 of them.
I think, Nathan, if you can't fix this for yourself, I might have to renegotiate your contract or something.
I'm not scared of you.
I'm your boss. Tell him you're his boss. I just did. Just told him. Tell him again. I'm your boss. Bye, beep. Well, you know what? You know what I noticed? Did you notice her card that she gave you when she first bought us for 2 million lira the other week?
Yeah, the one where her name's spelled wrong.
Her name is spelled wrong, which was my first hint, but also in big letters at the top it said StampNet. Now, I didn't put 2 and 2 together then, but I think I'm getting some bad vibes about this whole scenario.
It's possible. I also know she has a connection to that thing that all podcasts advertise, stamp.com.
Oh, stamps.com, yeah. Why do you even bother going to a post office and buying a load of stamps. Well, you could just print them off your own printer. No one has a printer these days, though, Mark Maron. Shut up and just print your own stamps. No one's writing letters and no one has a printer. It's a brilliant solution to everyone's problems. This is about 20 minutes long, and I listened to that Mark Maron podcast. The stamps thing goes on for about 20 minutes.
Yeah, he likes to be thorough with his stamps and his coffee and his occasional TV show sponsors.
Anyway, I'm going to get homeless Hubbo Robo on the case and we'll see what's been going on. Because I've got to be honest, I'm reeking of whiz every day.
Yes, more so than ever.
But I have secured us tickets next week for the regional flandball semi-final. So that's something we can go to next week, which will be fun for us all.
That is good. I'm surprised it's happening this year.
Yeah, we all have to be on our best behaviour, hold our breaths.
Yeah.
Promise to hold your breath. How about we jump into some content? Because it's snowing today again, and being outside, hiding underneath this shopping trolley that is now operating as the Maude Flanders Internet Museum and Database. As we are, let's get to some content to warm these good fellas up that are still listening intently.
Let's do it. There's a lot. 5 big clips this week.
5 big uns. Some of them I had to split into 2.
Yes, make it 10. But yeah, it's worth looking at in one chunk, except for the clip we looked at last week from this episode.
Aye.
Yeah, let's delve in.
So, clip 1, you want to give these good people some context?
Apu is going to get deported because of some bear tax shenanigans, and Maude is a townsperson to witness several of these events in this episode.
Can't much Apu about nothing, but there's much Apu about everything. Clip 1. So last week we saw the bear attacking Neddy and he jumped in through the window and we questioned whether Maude had her bad claws out for him. Feels like that's all done and dusted now. The bear is being dragged into a Forest Service van and then the van drives away and then we see that Maude is there in a prime position. She's managed to position herself as she did with the Mr. Burns episode, right there to watch. All our favourites are there, and that drunk dude who seems to be in clips a lot more than I thought. What's his name with the comb over?
Yeah, Larry, I think. He's been quite consistently around this entire season, I think, around Maude. Maybe he's the new Edna.
The Larry cast, although Edna is very close in a lot of these as well, especially when we get into the ones at the town hall in a little bit. So the van drives away to reveal the Moe's van and 2 chaps hauling Barney in. Now, is that just a side gag or had Barney also been shot at some point by a tranquilizer?
Yeah, I think they shot Barney by accident with the tranquilizer gun and then they shot the bear.
Maude's looking on wide-eyed. She looks a little bit like Hugh Laurie in Blackadder. She goes for the double hand touch on Marge's shoulders and she says, Marge, oh Marge. Marge is not overly bothered by this. She's kind of grumbling. Maybe she's remembering the time when Maude kicked her out of her house, which can't have been too long ago. There's big bags under Maude's eyes. Oh, Marge, it was horrible. We were trapped in the house all afternoon. It's been very, very dramatic. And we had to drink toilet water. Why? I asked myself. Marge is not actually caring too much about anything, but she does put her arms on Maude's shoulders in return, and then she says, well, things were bad everywhere.
Yeah, she sounds irritated by Maude's whinging at this, because again, she is being very overdramatic. This sort of also hints that she didn't try to kill Ned and that she was just living in this real sense of fear about this bear. They were only trapped in the house for the same amount of time they would spend in the house. So drinking toilet water, I don't understand, why would the water not be on? Seems like they made an actual choice to drink toilet water. There's nothing happened to the water supply.
Yeah, there's not a lot of sense to any of that, really.
No.
Maude looks visibly like they've had a horrible time, and I imagine them all cowering under the table, which again leads some credence to Maude not wanting to lock Ned out. But of course, once Ned got in, she had to pretend that, she was on board with it. So either way, who knows?
Why she's more scared of this bear than the comet doesn't make a lot of sense to me. This would have been a more apt reaction of them in the bomb shelter, but they were all just sitting calmly waiting for death in the bomb shelter.
True, but they felt they were protected. I don't know, did the bear viciously continue to try to get in through the door? Was it reaching his arm around and trying to grab them? And if so, they had quite a big house to hide in, including a bunker and a panic room and a Beatles room. So I'm with Marge on this one. I think it's hard to see that if this is a genuine reaction, it's hard to see why Maude crumbled. Like we said last week, she's been really very stoic about pretty much everything so far, and it just seems to be this. Is there some troubling animal incident in her past which may have triggered her?
Well, maybe. But I imagine she spent quite a lot of childhood visiting Magdalena, and maybe there was some kind of bear attack.
Maybe.
Because this is a genuine fear. This is the most scared we've ever seen her about anything.
Exactly. She's driven her car through trains. She's sent her kid down a river wrapped in blankets. She's been threatened by a serial killer. No, it was the bear that triggered it. So something went on, some deep, dark, repressed memory. And who knows, maybe we'll find out about it later in her diary or something like that.
Maybe.
Homer has his hands on his hips and he says, I am sick of these constant bear attacks. It's like a freaking bear jamboree around here. Ned, the voice of reason, steps in. Well, now realistically, Homer, I've lived around here for nigh on 30 years. Revelation. And this is the first and only bear I've ever seen.
Ned, at this point now, is super calm compared to Maude.
Maude's not
She's crying still.
She's crying. Maybe she's not that calm, really. Hey, if you want wild bears eating your children and scaring away your salmon, pokes Ned with a finger, that's your business. Marge looks on. Maude is just out of shot. What's she thinking? Homer says, I'm not going to take it. Who's with me? Everyone raises their arms except for Maude and Ned and Marge. Ruth Powers raises both of her arms. She is very in. Skinner, Apu, comic book guy, they're all well into it. We know that Maude's not raising her arm means nothing because as soon as a mob is gathered, she's going to join it regardless.
Yeah.
30 years they've lived there, or Ned's lived there for 30 years now. What's the deal?
That sort of, again, that just fits correctly into our thing, doesn't it? If he's 60.
No,
it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. Because if Maude's lived with him, if Maude's lived there with him for 30 years, then that doesn't make any sense because Maude's like Homer and Marge's age, we established, right? Maybe a little older, but she's still, she would have, 30 years ago, she would have still only been 10.
At the oldest. So that sort of implies that we were wrong, or Maude herself was wrong in her diary about inheriting the house from Jasper. Maybe she was lying a little bit and Ned already lived there.
Maybe they lived in a different house in Springfield. Maybe Ned lived in Springfield. And see, the thing is, the other week you talked about them living, you said that house had to be their current house, the Christmas episode, because you can see the Simpsons house out of the window. But when I looked out the window, they just look like generic Springfield houses. How do you know it's not in another part of Springfield and they've never met before? And the house looking out of the window just looks a bit like the Simpsons house.
That is possible, but I just thought it does look exactly like the Simpsons house, was my logic. Like, I looked at it and they've got more to do with the sort of fencing in between and the shape and the colour. They seem to, maybe in a similar way to none of the other characters have yellow hair because of the Simpsons. So maybe none of the other houses are the same colour.
Maybe. And also, we know that Maggie is 8 years younger or so, and they were already in the house well established at that point. So, but there's a chance that Ned lived in Springfield by himself because we don't know where he comes from. Could have been living in Springfield solo for quite a long time.
True. Well, we do see him as a younger man living in Springfield as well, so that would make a lot of sense. So maybe his parents, maybe that's his childhood home. Maybe he moved out with Maude for a couple of years and then they moved back into the house when the hippies went to Woodstock or whatever.
We do know that Ned went to Oral Roberts University, the same as Maude, so there's a very good chance that he met Maude there and then returned back to Springfield.
Yeah.
Is this the same episode with a tiger rock where Lisa says this is rock that keeps away tigers and Homer says, I would like to buy that rock?
Yeah.
Love that.
And it's also when he says, the birds pay the bear tax, I pay the Homer tax. She says it's the homeowner tax.
Nice. That's like, it's a good play on words tag. My favorite play on words joke is from Friends where Chandler says, I can handle it. Handle is my middle name. No, actually, Handel is the middle part of my first name.
That is good.
Very good.
I don't
Very good
remember
job.
that, yeah.
Very clever. So then the mob gets together. Maude seems like she's calmed down at this point and she's ready to join the mob, but really, who knows? What's her tension at this point? How's she feeling about all this?
I think she's just ready to take action. Like she's always part of the mob, but this mob she's front and center of.
F&C.
Especially in this clip that we're going to look at now, she's one of the front four characters. And I don't remember Don't really recall seeing Ned, but I wasn't looking for him.
He's around,
but yeah,
but he's not
I
quite
think
as
she's
far
that.
to the front.
I think she's that fearful of what happening again that she's ready to just kick off with Quimby again.
She'll take it to him. She's not afraid of a fight for things that matter or just don't matter, occasionally matter. Clip 2, marching on the town hall. The mob chants, "We're here, we're queer, we don't want any more burrs." The mob charges into the town hall. Maude is angry, possibly the angriest we've ever seen her. Teeth gritted, brow furrowed. Edna right behind her. Seymour right in front of her. "Hey, Homer, that's a pretty catchy chant," says Lenny. "Where'd you hear it?" "Oh, I heard it at the mustache parade they have every year." Maude is right in shot behind Homer J. Simpson. She's crazy-eyed. No longer as angry as she was a few seconds ago, but still right there.
It's interesting again, like this is the closest her and Homer have come to working as a team so far that we've seen. Like they both have the same goal, maybe for the first time in a long time.
They get a lot closer soon.
And with Homer's loudness and stupidity and Maude's sort of willingness in these situations to speak a mind and not be, walked over, they probably would make quite a good protesting team.
They would, like an odd couple. They'd work together to balance each other out and magnify each other's strengths. Almost certainly they would be at each other's throats.
Yes, there's a scene I would like to delve into at some point. A Maude Homer team up.
Yeah, surprising they haven't done it. When they bring her back from the dead, I'm sure there'll be some opportunities for it. We see Mayor Quimby with a bottle of whiteout, and he's whiting out all kinds of stuff in his papers. Not sure what it is. His assistant opens the door and says, "Sir, there's an unruly mob to see you." Quimby says, "Do they have an appointment?" And
they did.
And he says, yes, it does. Skinner pops their head around and says, "I phoned ahead." Maude is right there in front of Homer, and she cannot wait. She is the first one through that door after Homer. He slams open the door and he says, "Mr. Mayor." Maude is goofy-eyed and now smiling. What's going on here? She's gone from absolute terror to rage to joy in the space of minutes. "Homer, Mr. Mayor, I hate to break it to you, but your city is infested with burrs." Prodding the desk. Maude right there, step for step and smiling. "Mo, these are smarter than the average burr. He swiped my picnic basket." And here is the quote that we thought Maude had said, but is Helen Lovejoy, or I thought. You knew it wasn't Maude. "Oh, think of the children." Quimby spins around. "Very well," he says. Maude is right in front of him. We get a classic back of the head shot. "I promise quick and decisive action against these hibernating hucksters." All cheers. Maude hugs and possibly kisses Homer J. Simpson before heading out, incredibly excited. What in sweet bejazzles is going on here?
This is insanity.
Insanity.
This is the closest she will ever come to being a friend of Homer, I think, ever. And she's very smiley when she goes in. I think it's sort of more of a polite game face than anything else, rather than going in all guns blazing. But she does tend to usually do that if she's in this sort of mood. So maybe she just started thinking about something else for a couple of minutes.
She zoned out away from the terror, but she was definitely on high red alert. Homer helping her with Quimby, she let down all defenses and she gave him a hug. A hug. She hugged Homer Simpson. What must he have felt about that? His dreams must have come true there, having such a saucy lady hugging him. Does she kiss him? Does she give him a peck on the cheek?
I thought it was just a hug, but it's worth looking back at. I'll see how it looks when I get the imagery for the visuals for this podcast. I always thought it was just a hug.
These older ones are a little bit harder to see in detail because the resolution isn't quite as high.
Exactly. She does say, "Think of the children" once.
Really?
But it isn't that dramatic. It's in a Halloween one that we haven't looked at, the Coven one that we... Mo has a good episode, this episode. One of the funniest episodes of him. The forefront of the stupidity and the hypocrisy. Because, he has to take the illegal immigrant test to stay. So he is an immigrant, which is why he's... the bravado of him desperately trying to say, they are the problem. It's him just trying to hide things. No real Maude interaction for Mo. Yeah, she's surrounded by people she usually hates at this point, other than Edna. There's a possibility that Maude is somewhat angry at Margie's response to her opening up a little bit ago. So this hug is a somewhat sneaky, tactical revenge hug because Marge might somehow find out about this. It'll cause problems. Maude is using her body as a weapon.
Is that something she does often?
It would be very easy for Maude to get what she wanted out of Homer and Moe, but she only uses it when she's not really got another plan. Like she wants Homer to be attracted to her so that Marge will be irritated.
Yeah, are there any other examples where she does that you know of?
I can't even think of another time she's hugged someone.
No, this is the crazy thing. She shows very, very little affection to anybody. She really must have been terrified of these burrs. I really do wonder what went on back in the recesses of her head mind.
I can't really picture her hugging Ned.
I can't imagine they're an Amanda hug and kiss couple.
No, they have the moments, but not. This is the most physically affectionate we've seen her towards anybody in town, and it happened to be Homer J. Simpson.
Enemy. Quimby laughs. He has the picnic basket. Obviously, Moe's quote earlier is a Yogi Bear reference. It turns out that this Bear has not taken it, and Quimby chuckles as he begins to eat a sandwich.
Yeah, the mustache parade line is great as well at the start. The kind of sweet naivety of Homer just sort of enjoying himself and not acknowledging where he is. Like he was just there and having fun and he took this quote. But
of course, Springfield is also the place that would actually have a mustache parade.
Yeah, that is true. That Ned would probably be heavily involved with.
Exactly.
Alongside Luigi and
Cletus.
Cletus has like a beard, doesn't he? Like a yokel sort of.
Little wispy tash.
Yeah.
There's no other mustached characters in Springfield, is that true?
The guy who says yes has a mustache.
Okay.
But no, I can't particularly think of any. Ned's father.
All of the Flanders.
Future Rod and Todd.
Exactly. Clip 3. Quimby steams out of the door. Maude steps back, shocked by Quimby's exit from the building. People, your taxes are high because of illegal immigrants, he says, hitting his hands together, and we need to get rid of them. Maude stirs with her mouth wide open, and the chattering begins. Moe says, immigrants, I knew it was them. Even when it was the Burr, I knew it was them. Helen once again shouts, oh, won't somebody think of the children? I'm sure Maude would think this was going way over the top and become quite judgmental of Helen at this point. 1 week from now, the town will vote to remove all illegal immigrants from Springfield. We get a classic back of the head shot as Proposition 24 is rolled out.
Yes. I think that, again, Helen and Maude have been equally emotional in this episode. And again, we've not seen this from Helen before, really. Helen's usually, like, angrier than Maude, but she's not usually sort of... Like, the delivery of this line is great, that she's so... You'd think this would be, again, like the power of three thing. This seems like it should be the third time she said it, and it's this. Crazy, but it was sort of the second one. And so I don't think Maude would be judging Helen too much. I think she would sort of, if she's that fearful of birds, maybe she thinks that's the appropriate level to be at.
She thinks they should be at DEFCON 1.
Yeah. Again, Maude is a sheeple person in this episode, and she just sort of believes what she's told in all situations from the looks of things. That she believes Quimby is going to deal with the birds, and then when she doesn't want to pay the taxes. The reason they're back at the hall now is because he brought in a burr tax, like I said, and everybody decided that they didn't want to pay the burr tax. So that's why they're there now, and that's why he says the immigration thing. The
whole episode's a really good kind of satire on the mentality of knee-jerk reactions, non-realistic solutions about how those are going to be paid for. Lowering taxes while at the same time spending more.
It's strange. If Maude is so scared of birds, I don't think she'd mind paying a tax. So I think she's just part of this mob because she likes being a part of mobs. I don't think she's actually too bothered about paying this tax because it protects her from birds.
You don't really see it broken down like that, do you? I don't know. I'm imagining they don't have it broken down to this is how much is your bird tax. They just say your taxes are high. I mean, the real reason is because Quimby's almost certainly siphoning off stacks of cash into his offshore accounts. The immigrants are the easy kind of lazy finger pointing.
I think normally you'd be right, but I think we do actually see Homer open his tax envelope for the month. It says burr tax on it because he questions what the hell is this burr tax? It does actually break down it separates burr tax as its own thing, but I can't remember how much it said it cost, but I'm pretty sure it was like a couple of dollars.
People complaining about taxes being too high, it's interesting that they haven't put some kind of suggestion of corruption being the cause of it, because I imagine Springfield doesn't invest a lot of money in its infrastructure or its education and things like that. Diamond Joe is benefiting.
Yeah, and he seems to get away with it. Nobody ever seems to point the finger at him. They do think that he's a pretty good mayor.
He'll just do a runner. The going gets hot.
Yes. Other deductions, Burr Patrol tax, $5 is what appears on the bill that he gets.
All right. When I was applying for a visa for a family member in the United Kingdom, the first time I went, it was quite cheap. It was £100 or something. Within a few years, it had risen to like 1,000. And what they said when I asked about it was that they were going to use that money to help get rid of illegal immigrants, which involved just putting some scary stuff on a van and driving it around everywhere.
Yeah.
So hoping that someone would see the van and then just say, yes, my number's up here. Mission accomplished. Well then, United Kingdom Immigration Services. Another well thought out and well executed plan.
Precisely.
Clip 4. Cut to a garden. Welcome to America, Apu. I am now an Indian American. Hear, hear, everyone says. And a tiny Maude, almost hidden by Mo, clapping along.
That the entire clip it is, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the entire clip.
Yeah, we've skipped on to the end of the episode now. And Apu was taking his immigration test and passed, so he is now a citizen. And Maude is one of the people he has chosen to come and celebrate that with for whatever reason. Yeah, once the immigration thing came in, we didn't see Maude again. She just went about her business until this point. And she's obviously calmed down a lot now.
It's all forgotten. Could have been days, weeks, months, years before this has come. And the fact that there have been no more Burr attacks mean that the Burr tax is definitely working. Like exactly. What they did with the Burr. Did they put like Burr vans out there or something?
I remember there being a plane, like a Burr Patrol plane. I'm pretty sure it flies past I might have cut it out. It was like a second before this clip starts. The clip 3, sorry, when they go and talk about the immigration. There's a Burr Patrol plane flying around the town.
Nice. Rock and roll. So clip 5, they're still in the garden. Homer is tapping on a Duff can and he shouts, "Hi everyone, could I just say a few words?" Ned appears to have a Duff can in front of him. Are we ready for another Ann Landers rerun? The weird thing is that the cans keep moving around and changing, but at some point Ned has a beer can, a red beer can in front of him. Maude is being attentive. Seems like she's still supporting Homer, and Homer makes some crack about being a better public speaker. Maude at one point looks like she's holding a Duff can, but then we cut and we see that there's a kind of Buzz Cola maybe in front of her, so it's hard to say if she's drinking Duff or Buzz Cola. Homer says, "Most of us who were born in America, we take this country for granted." Maude has no movement, no expression at this point, but we talked a little bit about her, how much she loves Springfield and respects its history. I'd like to know a little bit more about her patriotism. But Apu is not taking this country for granted. He has not lived here his whole life, and while the rest of us are drinking ourselves stupid, cut to Barney, immigrants are driving the cabs that get us home safely, writing the operas that entertain us every day. Maude now looks like she's scowling at Homer. Has he lost her with this opera quip? Training our tigers and kicking our extra points. Homer's now up on the table, essentially waving his arse in Maude's face while talking about immigrants being the glue that holds society together. If we vote for Proposition 24, we'll be losing some of the truest Americans of all, and Maude cheers along with everyone else. So when you go to the polls, vote no on 24. And they're chanting, "No on 24. Maude is banging on the table. A lot in there.
It was a hefty scene. My favourite non-Maude thing about this scene is that Homer really makes Bart laugh with that kind of like crappy joke. Maude doesn't really respond to it, along with everybody else. She's not from a family of immigrant in the way that many other characters are, including Homer, in that I think it was Abe and his father, who I believe is called Orville, came from like Ireland or something on a boat. We've established that Maude's relative come from Native American descent. So I think Maude doesn't really understand, but I don't think she's a get out of my country kind of person. Again, I think she judges each and every person she sees by their merit, but she does a lot of judging books by the covers. So maybe it's not always good judgment, but I think she gives everybody the same kind of fair judgment. There's no preconceived bias or hatred other than if you're a Homer Simpson relative.
So she'll judge you harshly, but mostly on things you've said and done, and not on your skin color or even
She will judge you.
your lifestyle preferences.
She will judge you from what she's seeing directly in front of her.
She's a what you see is what there is kind of person.
Yeah, and the town does vote. There's a landslide vote for yes on 24. So we don't know where she voted.
Like 95% yes on something like that.
Something like that. So we don't know where Maude stood on that. But
Willie gets deported, right?
Yeah, that's how it did.
But he
finally got caught. He's back without any sort of question. Because again, the only permanent change this program seemed to stick to was the death of Maude Flanders.
So what about this beer kind of thing? Do you think that can in her hand? Like I've got the clip and the can. It's you can see the red in Ned's. You can see the red thing popping at the top, but with Maude, you can't see what color it is. And the cans magically are moving around the table, but that could be because it's different times. But what's your take on that? Is she drinking Buzz Cola? Is she drinking Duff beer?
Both of them are quite shocking for Maude, to be honest, because one of them's full of sugar, the other one's full of alcohol. So there is the possibility, maybe this, I don't know when things began existing, but maybe they took some alcohol-free beers with them to be, like a communal celebration, be part of the gang, but they didn't want to get drunk. It is the middle of the afternoon from the looks of things as well.
Duff Zero. Alcohol-free Duff? I don't think so. Duffman says no.
No. But soda seems like her drinking a Buzz Cola is equally as unusual as her drinking a Duff.
Let's just say that the jury is still out. When you look back through, you might be able to work out which one it is and come down. Is she on a sugar rush or is she a booze hound? On the clip that I see, Ned isn't holding a can anymore. So maybe she's just holding while he ties his shoelaces.
Maybe. Or again, things are moving around a lot. Maybe it's somebody else's and she's just politely passing it over or monitoring it.
Let's give her the Maudefit of the doubt. So that's a lot of content there. And isn't that the end of the episode?
Yeah, that's it. She's done. We only have one more season 7 appearance to look at.
Interesting. So do you want to round up this content with some witty quip?
No.
Excellent. Let's move on to Maude art today. And it's not really a Maude art. It's actually a link you sent me about a Maude toy that isn't a Maude figure. We know full well that Maude did not receive the figure that she so well deserved. However, she did get a gachapon back in 2004. Can you see that?
Yes. I don't know how in 2004 I didn't get access to this. It's not like I wasn't on the ball, but I only found out about this somewhat in the last couple of years, and it seems to be unattainable. I can't seem to find it anywhere on the internet to purchase. And it says so small they fit in the palm of your hand, which means, a tiny, tiny Maude figure, but a Maude figure nonetheless when we thought the world was starved of them.
So the gacha, as you know, they're those little plastic round balls, right, that you buy in the machines. So that means that probably she's like 7 or 8 centimeters tall. It's wild that Homer and Bart are in here in normal standard form, which is weird because you imagine they've already appeared in the first and second, but then we've got the whole Flanders family, Rod, Todd, and Maude, and Neddy. And yeah, it's hard to tell from these pictures because these are tiny, so they're not very well defined, but just look at the eyes on Rod. They're bonkers.
They're pretty big.
Big old bonkers.
Bad too.
Yeah, they've got the same mad eyes. Little Todd's got his mad eyes as well. And look, but Maude...
Snowball's pretty good.
Snowball's pretty accurate, and I'd say Maude is probably the most accurate of the bunch.
Yeah, I do like her. She seems to be clasping her hands together in prayer, and Bart seems to be missing an arm. So does Ned. Ned seems to be hiding his arm, but Bart seems to just be missing an arm.
Yeah, Bart's missing the arm, but Neddie's just holding probably a big old machete, big old carving knife behind his back. But Maude, let's see, who knows out there on eBay if one of our hordes of followers could give us a heads up on this. I'm sure it's out there.
Yes, if anybody can find this, that would be fantastic.
But they're groovy, but they're too tiny to really say much about. And Maude, she's got wearing her standard outfit, standard costume. She's got bright orange hair, and that's all she wrote, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's highly sought after from the database.
Exactly. Let's see if we can get it for our collection that is currently housed in this overspilling shopping trolley. So, do we have a Maude diary to take us home today?
We do.
Excellent.
This seems to be I'll let the diary speak for itself.
Hey diary, Maude here. This week, we've just got back, me and the boys and Ned Flanders have just got back from a trip to Washington to see sweet Magdalena, my grandmother, who is still alive at this point. Rod's like 6 and Todd's like whatever age different. So we went to see my grandma just to have a nice week, and we went up to her cabin, and she's definitely a lot calmer than she used to be since she got the 4th leg. She moves around like some kind of half spider, but she's still quite mean to people, particularly Todd. She called Todd a sappy nobody, and he cried for 4 days. But that wasn't the worst thing that happened. We went for a walk one afternoon, me and the boys and Neddie and Magdalena's new husband, Callum with 3 L's, who is a hiker. So we were walking with him. Magdalena had scuttled off really quickly with all of her legs. So we were with the hiker, Callum, and 7 bears came out of... We stumbled into a bear's nest, and we were surrounded by 7 furious bears. And Rod and Todd were terrified. Rod just hissed himself. Todd was just crying even more. And the hiker said, "Don't worry, you just have to act big and like you're not scared of them." So he got up in one of the birds' faces and started roaring, and it just ate his face off. Just in one bite, it ate my step-grandfather's face. And I just grabbed Rod and Todd at this point and started legging it. But the birds were catching up, and one of them clawed at my ankle a little bit. And I got a scrap, and Todd fell over and banged his head on some grass, and he was really upset. And then Magdalena showed up with a giant shotgun and scared the bears off, but one of them kept following us, and it followed us all the way back to Springfield, and it lived in our garden for a week and a half. But I kept it a secret from Ned because he was I told him about the other bear stuff, but I kept this bear a secret because I didn't want to worry him too much, all the boys. And eventually I managed to get me and Homer teamed up, got rid of the bear via eating. See ya.
Well, a bizarre, rambling and meandering diary entry from Maude in there, but it shines a heckle of a lot of light all over that trauma that she experienced. Now, I wonder if there's an earlier diary entry in which she experienced even more bear-related trauma, but maybe we'll hear about that in another maybe Bearcast.
Maybe.
And so she had a step-grandfather whose face was eaten off, and I wonder whether he had a face transplant like Nicolas Cage, or
Maybe.
whether he just died. More,
I think he died.
All right. Well, we'll check up on that later. And then they managed to keep a bear in their garden for a week without Neddie realizing, and then she ate it. Sometimes I question whether Maude is really telling the truth in this diary.
Yeah, maybe she's embellishing things, but I think it would be a quick and easy solution for her. And Homer probably ate most of it. She probably ate like a toe, or like just the snout.
Just the snout, salted.
Exactly.
Teriyaki snout.
Spaghetti and snout balls.
Snout chow mein.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what happened.
Quattro snout maggio pizza.
Precisely.
Well, that's it. That's the end of the episode.
Yeah, feels like a hefty week. We saw a political. Last 2 weeks have been somewhat politically based in that we've seen a stance on, Republicans and Democrats somewhat, we think. And we've also seen a stance on immigration in that she sort of cheered for it to be done and probably secretly voted yes.
Almost certainly. I think there's a very good chance that she voted yes. This is one of the things, right? It's very easy to come out and be the good guy and say, absolutely, yes, these immigrants, they're all good people, but then secretly vote against it and keep them all out. That would be... And no, I'd like to think that Maude would be more honest than that, but the fact that she joins mobs for every single thing, even things that she generally maybe doesn't feel that strongly about, and she's a flip-flopper. Is she a flip-flopper?
She is. She changes consistently and it keeps us on our toes.
Certainly does. Shall we wrap it up with a song?
Sure.
Who's starting?
Me.
Go for it.
Bertat.
Dragging it into the Forest Service van.
Toilet water.
Hugh Laurie, Blackadder 3.
Uncle Mo.
Drinking the water from the toilet, but why?
Lionel Hutz.
Things were bad everywhere.
Not cheering in the scene because I checked.
I've now realistically lived around here for nigh on 30 years.
Home attacks.
Poking you with my finger.
Queer.
Mustache.
iPhoned ahead.
Arms not raised.
Picnic basket.
Marching to the town hall.
Proposition 24.
Brom stance.
Quimby. Yogi Bear.
Crowding the desk.
Immigrants.
Beautiful hugging for the immigrants.
Think of the children.
Classic BOH shot.
Jenny the Vixen Ryan.
Indian Americans.
No on 24.
95% yes.
Groundskeeper Willie.
Pascola.
Bear attacks.
Born in America.
The end.
The end.
Good work.
And a Sunny Bono 1, so we go back with the acoustic. We got the acoustic rocking us out now, which, let's see whether YouTube try and shut down all of our creativity. Who knows?
Maybe.
Who knows? It's a low-key start for 2021.
It is. Welcome.
All. We love you and respect your choices to be immigrants or just grunts. And live long and prosper, everyone out there. Hopefully we enjoy that flan ball game next week and nothing too dramatic happens and we can enter season 4 nice and calm. Even though we have no home, we just live in a shopping trolley and we're being ordered around by a...
Well, this is my Easter egg teaser for next week. That was the last in the flesh Maude appearance of season 7.
Interesting. Alrighty, see you everyone. Chang 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 chang.